afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Star Teacher, Star Students Awards Ceremony for the class of 2018, presented by Gaston County Schools and sponsored by the Gaston Gazette. I am Todd Higgins from the Gaston County Schools Communications Department, and it is a pleasure to have all of you with us this afternoon. Today's ceremony recognizes outstanding high school students and the accomplished teachers who have gone above and beyond the call of duty to see that they are successful. We would like to thank the Gaston Gazette for sponsoring this wonderful recognition program, and we appreciate Dr. Ann Tippett and her staff here at the Shield Museum for making it possible to have our Star Teacher, Star Student ceremony here at the museum again this year. To offer our official welcome this afternoon from the Gaston County Board of Education, I am delighted to introduce our Vice Chairman, Mr. Jeff Ramsey.
Well, good afternoon. On behalf of all the members of the Gaston County Board of Education and our chairman, Mr. Kevin Collier, it is a pleasure to welcome you to the Star Teacher, Star Students Awards ceremony. I would like to take a moment to introduce the Board of Education members who are with us this afternoon. And please stand, Dot Cherry. Well, we had Terry, but he wasn't able to make it. I guess he got caught in the terrible traffic. Well, thank you for being here today, Dot. Each Star student's being honored this afternoon selected the teacher who had the greatest influence on his or her life. The teacher being recognized are among the best of the best in Gaston County schools. They truly are the Star teachers who work diligently every day to make a significant difference. To each student and teacher being honored today, the Board of Education commends you and salutes you to a job well done. We are confident that our Star teachers will go on to become professional and leaders in the community. And we know that our Star teacher will continue to inspire a love for learning in their students. Before I close in the comments today, I wanted to share a personal story I had this past weekend, this past Saturday, and it's about a Star teacher. The owner of a sound system company, I won't mention the company name, came by and installed a new receiver in my house. And when he got finished, he had an unusual question for me and my wife and said, can I see your mother-in-law, Miss Guy? She's a retired teacher. And she lives with us today, and she's in declining health. So that's why she lives with us. But he wanted to see her, and Mr. Brown wanted to say thank you to his Star third grade teacher because she stayed after school with him every day to make sure he understood his reading and math homework. And I asked him, I said, well, why did she stay with you all the time after school? He said, the reason why, I was so shy, I would not ask any questions in her classroom, and she knew it. So she wanted to make sure I got it, because we all know the third grade is the gateway of graduation. So today he's an owner of his own company. He's a head baseball coach at Gaston Christian. And we all know what a teacher makes a difference here today, and that's what we're here for today. The little things y'all do makes a huge difference in kids' life. And it was so exciting to hear his story to us and sharing that with us. So in closing, I would like to again congratulate all our Star students and Star teachers, and we hope you enjoyed this afternoon. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon. On behalf of the Gazette, I'd like to welcome you to this celebration, and a celebration it will be. We sincerely appreciate the opportunity and feel it is an honor to be able to sponsor things like this in our community. So we're going to be sharing community good news. We like to do that, and today we're going to do just that. We hope you'll look for coverage in the Gazette, which will be on Sunday, April the 22nd. Every STAR student and STAR teacher will be featured in the Gazette that day, so look for that, look for it online, send it to friends, send the links out. We like that. We'll also be sharing that social media as well. I'm looking forward, as I know you are, to hearing the students, in their own words, tell how their STAR teacher influenced them and made a difference in their life. This ceremony is just one of the special things that we do around education. We sponsor the Spelling Bee, as well as we sponsor the Best and Brightest Scholarship Program that's coming up in a couple of weeks. So welcome. I know we're going to enjoy this presentation, and thank you for being here and for supporting our students, parents, grandparents, friends, and certainly our teachers. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucy. Lucy Talley, the publisher of the Gaston Gazette. We appreciate your sponsorship of this program. And now it's a pleasure to introduce our Superintendent of Schools, Mr. W. Jeffrey Booker.
Thank you, Todd. Good afternoon, everyone. Before we get into all the great speeches, we need to thank a few people. Todd and his department have worked tirelessly to get us to this point, and we often forget in the rush of celebration, and we get so excited with the event that we forget to thank those behind the scenes that make it possible. So to Tom Nancetti, who does all the photography and recording this for Channel 21, Tom and your team, Todd, thank you for what you do. This is a special afternoon for all of us, STAR teachers, STAR students in the 2018 class. Think about that for a minute. This is 2018. Everybody remember being scared about the year 2000 and Y2K? But somebody had the courage to bring a child into the world along with that. And we are so glad that you had that courage, because today we get to celebrate all the things that these students have accomplished. Today, they have teachers with them that they selected because they're a star in their eyes, and they're the people who've been affected by their work. And I'm sure that those STAR teachers will share with us that they received as much from these students as the students are giving them credit for, because it has been said that teachers also learn from their students. The students' academic records are incredible when you look at them. Their leadership in our extracurricular activities is very commendable, and one that we're all challenged to live up to. But most importantly, is you look at the service to our community and you realize how fortunate we are. People are scared of the future. I celebrate the future because I get to see children do great things every day. You will get to see a taste of that today. These children have received so many awards throughout their career. That's why they're here and they're stars. As Albert Einstein said, it is the supreme art of the teacher to awaken joy in creative expression and knowledge. Our STAR students are here today. They will be the first to tell you that somewhere in that statement reflects why they selected their STAR teacher. These teachers have helped these students, along with many others, to be successful and to become ready for not only this day, but for the rest of their lives. These STAR teachers took the time to awaken something in these students, to give them the joy of gaining knowledge, to learn new skills, to celebrate the creativity that they had within inside themselves, but also to give them the courage and the self-confidence to express that creativity. These students represent the countless students. We are a student body of 32,000. Today we get to celebrate a handful of those. We are extremely proud of these STAR students, but recognize they represent that whole class of 32,000. So as you listen to what each student says about the teacher that he or she may be recognizing, you will realize the influence of a teacher. Just as Mr. Ramsey shared, someone looking back 20, 30 years and saying that person made a difference. I could go on for hours to talk about what our great teachers do, what our great administrators do, and the difference it makes in our community. We thank you for supporting public education because we believe that public education is what makes our society great. And today, we get to see that greatness in each of these children. So Todd, you got to cut me off. Come on up here and let's start presenting the star students and teachers of 2018.
Thank you, Mr. Booker. We are ready to meet our star teachers and star students for the class of 2018. I will introduce each student and teacher and have the student come forward to read the essay. We would like for the teacher to please stand right here on this X as the student shares his or her essay. Then we will give the teacher an opportunity to make brief remarks before the awards presentation, which will happen over in this area. We will ask Superintendent Booker and the Board of Education members to present the Star Teacher, the official Star Teacher Award, a framed copy of the Star Student's essay, and a Gaston County Schools lapel pin. Each student will receive the Star Student plaque and a Star Student lapel pin. We begin our awards presentation with East Gaston High School. The Star Student is Zach Adams. He plans to attend North Carolina Wesleyan University to major in computer science, and his star teacher is Tom Adams, the athletic director and a physical education teacher at East Gaston High School.
First off, I just wanted to say that what an honor it is here to be here as East Gaston High School's star student, and what a privilege it is to be here today. When I found out that I was receiving this award, I was told that I would be selecting a Gaston County employee, past or present, that has greatly influenced my academic career. I was told by one of my counselors that I could take a couple of days to try to decide who to choose, but I knew that wouldn't be necessary. I knew who was going to be before she finished her sentence. My dad has been working for Gaston County Schools for years. He coached baseball, basketball, football, and golf, and taught English, math, reading, and PE at East Gaston from 1988 to 1998. He was the assistant principal at East Gaston from 2004 to 2009, and he has been the athletic director and PE teacher at East Gaston from 2012 to the present. Words cannot describe the impact that he has had on Gaston County Schools, let alone on me. I cannot remember a time when my dad has not been there for me, whether that has been in sports, academics, or life in general. I remember growing up, my dad always accompanied me to my travel ball tournaments and never ceased to have a smile on his face. This showed me that always to keep a positive outlook on life, because a lot of those tournaments were in severe cold and not necessarily had the best outcomes. He has always pushed me to strive to be the best person that I can be, and I believe that his determination to make me the greatest individual that I can become is the sole reason that I am able to be here, honoring my star teacher, my dad.
Wow. I have a few remarks. That got to me a little bit, but as you heard in Zach's essay, I've had a lot of different jobs, and I've worked at several different schools, most of it at East Gaston. I've come and gone from East Gaston several times. This last stop at East Gaston has been by far the best one. It's been the most satisfying, and the biggest reason for that is because I was able to share it with my older son Alex, and also with my youngest son Zach. And you know, that could be an awkward thing. You know, you're at school with your son, with your children, but it has not. It's been very good, especially when you see Zach across the lunchroom and he's waving, or he sneak up behind the hall, you know, and kind of put his arm around me. I think he tried to embarrass me more than me embarrassing him. One of my favorite memories is before Zach kind of got caught up in the AP classes and honors classes, when he was able to take maybe a PE elective. My office is right off of the gym, and most every day before class, if I was there, Zach would kind of sneak around and come in and tell me something about his day, something funny that happened, something interesting, or he might come in and grab a water, or might just peek around the corner and say hi. And that was always the highlight of my day. I always look forward to that. And you know, it's a moment. Those are moments I'll always have and will always cherish. I wish I could take as much credit as Zach gave me there about his academic success, but I really can't. I've never taught him. My wife and I, Lisa, we do what parents do. We nag and cajole about homework and studying, and Zach never really needed that. We did it anyway. But he was always on top of it and took care of things. We didn't really need to stay behind him. Even though I haven't taught him, I would hear things about him from other teachers. I was kind of in the same boat he was. I went to the same junior high I'm old enough to have gone to a junior high that my mother taught in, and sometimes she would hear stuff about me, not always good, sometimes bad, and then of course that was bad for me that she would hear from other teachers. But I never heard those kind of things about Zach. I never heard bad things. I would hear things about how conscientious he is, that he takes advantage of his time, that he's a joy to have in class.
The museum will be closing in 15 minutes.
Okay, we better.
The museum is open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 5, and on Sundays, 1 to 5. We hope you will enjoy your visit today and see you soon. The Show Museum will be closing in 5 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, well, I hope they don't lock us in. But those are things that make you feel good, and the people that really can be credited are the great. He's had a lot of great teachers at East Gaston, and have helped him get to the point that he is and have the success. It's been an honor and a blessing for me. It's a joy to get up and go to work, know that you're going to get to share that and spend time with your son and interact and be able to watch him succeed. So Zach, I'm very proud and just feel very lucky.
Next, from Bessemer City High School, we have star student Nedley Gory. She plans to attend UNC Wilmington to major in biology and pharmacy. Her star teacher is Megan Trimnell, who teaches biology, and now Ms. Trimnell is at South Point High School. Please welcome our star teacher and star student representing Bessemer City High School.
I just want to start off by saying that it was such an honor to be chosen as the star student for my school. When Dr. Moore called me into her office to say that I was chosen for this award, I immediately knew what teacher I was going to choose. Ms. Trimnell was the first one that came to my mind. Ms. Trimnell was my 9th grade biology teacher and my 11th grade anatomy teacher. She was also over the Fellowship of Christian Students Club, which I was a member of. When I first came to high school, Ms. Trimnell was always there to help, and she basically took me under her wing. In her 9th grade biology class, she taught me how to always strive for greatness and to never settle for less. She was very good at making class fun and meaningful. Out of all the classes I have taken, I have definitely learned the most while sitting in her classroom. While participating in the Fellowship of Christian Students Club, she taught me the value of spreading kindness to others and being nice. At the end of my 11th grade year, I asked her to sign my yearbook, and she wrote a Bible verse that I have kept close to my heart. She wrote Proverbs 19:21, which says, "There are many devices in a man's heart. Nevertheless, the counsel of the Lord that shall stand." This verse has meant a lot to me throughout my high school journey, and it has reminded me to always believe and trust in myself. Even though she left at the end of my 11th grade year, she has influenced me and pushed me to the person I am today.
I did have Natalie in 9th grade, and I knew who she was. She was actually a cousin of a good friend of mine, so I was excited to have a student who was interested in learning, and I knew that she already liked science a little bit. It was a large class. It was 27 students, and she was in the back. She's a Gory. And she would stare at me so intently that I would check my face, that I would see if I was misspeaking. I'm like, why is she staring at me? I would ask her cousin, I'm like, why is Natalie staring at me? Can she not see me? What's going on? Natalie's intense, and that's who she is. She is an intense learner. She's intense in all of her academics. She is intense with her sports and all of her extracurriculars. She is an intense friend and family member and loves them very intensely. And I just look forward to seeing how she moves into her future so intently. Of course, in science, because of me, no. So I just look forward to seeing that. And I have to say, 14 years ago, I stood up here as a STAR student and was able to tell a STAR teacher how she dramatically changed my life. And I'm just so grateful that she was part of my story, and now that I'm part of Natalie's story, and just look forward to hopefully talking about this, in years to come. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Now from North Gaston High School, the STAR student is Carter Rushing. He plans to attend Appalachian State University to major in communication sciences and disorders. His STAR teacher is Elizabeth Leonard, a chemistry teacher at North Gaston High School.
I'd just like to start off by saying that I'm extremely thankful to have been chosen to be the STAR student of North Gaston High School. Throughout my high school career at North Gaston, I've been fortunate enough to have had Miss Leonard. Miss Leonard was my honors chemistry teacher junior year and is currently my AP chemistry teacher. Although she has the job title of a teacher, on behalf of all her students, I say she is so much more than a teacher but a friend. Miss Leonard never failed to go above and beyond for the majority of her students. Whether this measure called for staying after school, making extra copies, or taking extra steps that most teachers wouldn't take, she never hesitated. Beyond her actions of helping her students, she also had this infectious, fun attitude. It didn't matter if it was a Monday morning or a Friday afternoon. I better hurry up. She made this time in class fun and memorable. Although we had a great time in her classroom, she knew when it was time to bring things in and be more serious. I have never had a teacher that had so much fun in her classroom but also had so much control simultaneously. For me personally, Miss Leonard served as a listening ear and a shoulder to lean on when times were tough. Sometimes I found it easier to talk to her about things on my mind than I did my own friends, because she was such an attentive listener and knew what to say. Whether she was listening to me ramble on about happenings at school or funny family stories, she always made me feel like she was interested and that I was important. She was a friend that I knew I could always come to a little before third period and share what was going on in my everyday life and how I was doing. Throughout these conversations, we came to develop a friendship that was unique, a friendship that would encourage and not harm, strengthen and not weaken. I'm so lucky to be able to call Miss Elizabeth Leonard my teacher, but most importantly, my friend. Thank you, Miss Leonard, for constantly encouraging me and motivating me and other students around me to better ourselves and expand our knowledge.
I don't really know how to follow that. I need to thank you. This is such an honor. I think from a teacher's perspective, there is no greater honor and no greater reward than a gesture of appreciation from one of your students. So thank you again. A little bit of a personal story. I was at a workshop back in the fall with 3 of my colleagues from North Gaston, and we were given this humongous piece of poster board and some markers, and we were asked to think about what qualities an ideal graduate would have. We were supposed to brainstorm a little bit. When it was time to begin, all 4 of us from North Gaston looked at each other and said, Carter Rushing. I mean, it's Carter. Carter is the ideal graduate. He's it. Who can draw him? And we quickly discovered that between 2 science teachers, myself and Miss Miller, a social studies teacher, Miss Baker, and then your math teacher, Mr. Hatley, that none of us were artists, and a stick figure made of adjectives was going to be the best that we could do. But we wanted to make sure that we described you, our ideal graduate. Because it was simultaneous for all of us. I'm telling this story because it's just such a profound reason as to why you're so deserving of this honor of STAR student. At that workshop, 4 of your former teachers from all different disciplines, different grade levels, immediately thought of you as the epitome of what we want all of our students to become. The ideal graduate, the STAR student. You're kind, determined, curious, compassionate, polite, and smart, and that's just a few of the qualities that make you so extraordinary. You are such a joy to teach, and you make my job so rewarding. I kept a picture of our stick figure from that day so I could look back and remind myself of the qualities that I wanted to try and foster in all of my students. And I'm so glad that I did, because it was critical to help me find the words to tell you today how grateful and honored I am to be up here. It didn't look real good because it was a picture from a cell phone. So Miss Baker redrew it this morning, and all 4 of us signed it so that I could give you a tangible reminder of how outstanding, how ideal, and how much of a star we all think you are. Don't y'all see the resemblance? I know I do. I feel so blessed to have been a small part of your success. Appalachian has no idea how lucky they are that you chose to continue your education there. You've got a very, very bright future, and I am so grateful to have been a part of it. Congrats.
Next is Webb Street School. Our star student from Webb Street is Quinton Hooker. Quinton plans to join the workforce after graduation, either at Walmart or Food Lion. He is honoring his star teacher, Debbie Donahue. She is the job skills teacher at Webb Street School.
Okay. Miss Donahue is star teacher because she is very nice and kind to me. I can ask a question. She helped me answer her class because I can stay up and I cook. I enjoy making red burgers dark sweet. I cut tweet out with colors. Miss Donahue teach me how for the recipe I help make the tradition wash. We make 74 washes. I help with money for that wash. I will make money I saw a class. That class has happened me get that job. Grocery store. I would like work for one where I graduate. Thank you, Miss Donahue.
It is one of the greatest honors of my teaching career to be standing here next to Quinton today. I've been a life skills teacher at Webb Street for about 8 years, and I've known Quinton that whole time. Quinton was in our high school when I first got to meet him, and I was also fortunate to have him in my homeroom a few years ago. We spent a lot of time cooking that year, didn't we, Quinton? That's how you got so good at all those skills, right? Okay. Well, the first thing I always remember noticing about Quinton is his beautiful, beautiful smile. But even as wonderful is his sense of perseverance. He has always been extremely responsible, respectful. He is a kind and honest young man. He is very self-disciplined. He uses great judgment and is always courageous as he is presented with new challenges in the classroom, as well as the various job training opportunities that we have at our school. Quinton, what will I do next year without you in our school classroom kitchen, or in the Java shop, our coffee shop, or with our webwaggers and other school-based enterprises? Because you lead the pack, my friend. You have honored me today by choosing me as your star teacher, but you will always and forever be Webb Street School's 2018 star student. All of your teachers and Ms. Williams and Ms. Howe and I are going to miss you so much as you transition out of our program into the next chapter of your adult life. You've been a consistent hard worker, and any future employer would be fortunate to have you as their employee. Any neighbor in your future will have a good friend who has a friendly face,
Attention museum guests, thank you for spending the afternoon with us. The museum is now closed.
a contagious laugh, a fun and a funny sense of humor, and someone who will always be helpful and polite to them. But I hope you always remember that not only are you my star student today because of your perseverance, you are also, more importantly, my personal hero. Congratulations on being Webb Street School star student, and all of us, Quinton, here today are so proud of you and all of your accomplishments. And I represent everybody when I say to you, congratulations.
From Hunter Huss High School, we recognize star student Gabby Fonseca. Gabby plans to major in economics either at Johns Hopkins University or at Duke University. Her star teacher is Jessica Kimmel. Mrs. Kimmel teaches math at Hunter Huss High School.
Before I begin, I would just like to say thank you to everybody and to my mother. And though I didn't pick you as my star teacher, I still love you. When I walked into her Math 3 class on the first day of my sophomore year, I knew her class would be different than all of my previous math classes. For a long time, I had to rely solely on myself to learn the odds and ends of mathematics, and because of that, I quickly found easy patterns to most of the problems, and shortly after, my love for math dwindled. It wasn't long after the first day of my sophomore year that I realized my experience in her class would be a good one. There was little time for me to adjust to a fast-paced curriculum, a different learning style, and a woman who loves colors, but I cannot complain. Our journey together began in Math 3, which was fairly new to the both of us, then continued through IB Math, which quickly became the best class I've ever taken, through the twists and turns of AP Statistics last semester, which we're both still a little skeptical of, to finally the haven that is AP Calculus, a class that I looked forward to taking almost as much as she looked forward to teaching. She taught me all of the math my little heart desired, and for that I will forever be grateful. She is a woman who lives for her children, cupcakes, and calculus, and I cannot thank her enough for making me fall in love with math all over again. Thank you, Mrs. Kimmel. You've helped me more than you know.
I did not print out my paper, so I have to go look on my phone. Okay, they asked, our guidance counselor asked me to write an essay back for Gabby. As a teacher of upperclassmen, you have to gear yourself up to write recommendations. The ones you cannot wait to get started on are the ones where you already know your last line will be, I hope my daughter grows up to be like her. I want my daughter to be smart, not just book smart, but smart about the choices she makes as she navigates her teenage life. I want her to be confident, to get along well with her peers and the adults in her life, which can be difficult when your mother is working at the school you're attending, as my daughter will be as well. I want her to be independent. Just because your mother works at your school doesn't mean you expect her to rescue you when you forget your homework or project. She needs to be known as herself and not someone's daughter. I want her to be athletic and learn to balance the demands of a high school sport with her academic choices. I want her to enjoy school, using all the colors of Sharpies to take notes and make her senior overalls, and to find classes and teachers that inspire her to do her absolute best. I want her to contribute to her school, to join and lead clubs, to serve the community, and I want all the leftover chocolate from her haunted house. I want her to have a clear sense of purpose, to walk the halls with her head held high, knowing that her choices have put her on a path of success. I want teachers to want a classroom full of kids just like her, so basically, I want my daughter to grow up to be like Abby.
From South Point High School, our star student is Jessica Helton. Jessica plans to attend either the University of South Carolina or North Carolina State University to major in biology. Her star teacher is Katie Bradley, a science teacher at South Point High School.
You tell them we didn't plan this, right? We did not plan to both wear navy blue. Okay. I would like to start and say that I am very proud to represent South Point as the star student. Go Red, had to throw that in there. A commonly held idea in education is that great teachers go above and beyond simply teaching curriculum. In spite of that, I did not fully comprehend until sitting in Miss Bradley's classroom the single element which best characterizes an outstanding teacher. That's passion. From walking across the tables in order to captivate her students to creating interactive learning environments both inside and outside of her classroom, Miss Bradley exudes passion in every facet of her job as a teacher. Miss Bradley is extremely supportive of her students both inside and outside of the classroom. On any given day, she remains at school long after the bell rings at 3 o'clock with students who come to relearn material or to work on lab experiments or just to come to her with any questions they have about life, school, biology, science, any of the above. Her innovative teaching style is incredibly effective and adaptive to ensure that she adequately teaches every student. And I can personally say that after about my first 3 weeks in Miss Bradley's classroom, my parents were asking me when I came home every day, all right, what do you want to do in biology? Because it's obvious that you love it. And that's because of Miss Bradley. Although it's inconvenient for her, at almost every basketball game and other sporting event, you'll see Miss Bradley sitting over in the crowds cheering on her team to support her students and her fellow teachers. Miss Bradley is not only passionate about teaching, she's dedicated to improving the community as well. She takes time outside of school to test water samples for the Catawba Riverkeeper, which gives her current and former students an application for the information she teaches about water quality in her AP Environmental Science class. She has also created a movement to revitalize the garden areas around the South Point campus with her own time and resources. And almost every week we have an Envirothon meeting where we get to go outside in the gardens and weed. And we've all learned about gardening and planting flowers, and our courtyard at South Point has been turned into something a lot more beautiful because of Miss Bradley. Miss Bradley, thank you so much for being the first teacher to make me want to incessantly spew facts that I learned in class that day. Thank you for making me feel guilty anytime I accidentally have a plastic water bottle. Thank you for allowing me to explore science more in depth, for checking on me when I do not seem like myself, for the ridiculous amount of Bozeman videos and podcasts, and for the fact that I have an entire sheet of paper memorized. Most of all, thank you for encapsulating the qualities of a true star teacher.
I'm much better in front of like teenagers, so this is going to be like very short because I'm very nervous. I don't know why we do that, but teachers usually don't like. Anyway, I would like to say thank you to Jessica for nominating me for this honor. As a previous teacher already said, our students know us best. So I'm particularly proud of this award since it represents a student's perspective of my teaching. Jessica is a phenomenal student, as I'm sure all the STAR students here are tonight. And I feel like Jessica would probably just do extremely well in all of her science classes, no matter who was standing in front of her. She's hardworking. I wrote all this down. She's determined, positive, and incredibly hardworking. I've never had an experience where I've needed to balance out a group and ask Jessica to move, and she even hesitated for a second. You know how they can do that sometimes. And she just provides this feedback to me that lets me know that I'm doing my job. You know, you need that student to let you know, well, did I cover that? Because sometimes you're just not sure, and then Jessica's like, yes, we did that, Ms. Brown. You're okay. You know, when you teach the same thing 3 times in a row, it can get like that. But anyway, but I think the challenge for teachers, like for me at least, is that when you have someone that incredibly talented in your classroom, it's just hard to keep them, I don't know, just feed that curiosity and take care of them while also kind of like trying to make sure you don't lose anybody else and do that. But when you can do that, and when you get it all balanced and you get to the rhythm, and you see that everyone benefits, you know, the strong students, they benefit from sharing their knowledge, and then the struggling students become confident in an area where they just weren't before. It's amazing, and it's rewarding, and it's why I love my job. Just to see that happen and create that environment and see you just be so awesome all the time. So anyway, I just want to say thanks again to Jessica, and for coming that one day. She left, after school, I just last minute, a lot of times, you know, gardening is a nonstop event, so you have to keep it going all the time, and I looked up and Jessica was gone. I was like, well, where did she go? And the 2 other girls are, well, she had to be somewhere at 4 o'clock. And I didn't even notice, she looked so nice. She had a meeting that afternoon, but because at last minute I was like, I better take care of this before the weekend. She showed up, all dolled up, went out there and just pulled weeds for 45 minutes and then just ran off to something else. And I'm like, she's amazing. So I really appreciate that and your enthusiasm. So thanks again for saying such nice things. And thank you to Mr. Ford, by the way, for letting me teach the stuff that I love, because when we get to teach the stuff that we really love, we can do a really good job of that, I think.
From the Gaston Early College High School, the STAR student is Selvin Lindo. Selvin plans to attend Tufts University in Boston to major in civil engineering. His STAR teacher is Charles Gardiner. Mr. Gardiner is now the lead teacher at the early college, but also has taught science. Our STAR student and STAR teacher from the Gaston Early College High School.
First off, I want to thank you. I'm so grateful for this opportunity to speak here as a STAR student for Gaston Early College High School. And I'd also like to shine some light on my mother, who has done so well in raising me for the past 4 years as a single mother, but not also me, but also my 2 little brothers as well. All my life, I felt as nothing was ever certain, but it's been these uncertainties, such as an absent father or even my future, that have led me to seek things that would never leave. Mr. Gardiner, my STAR teacher, was that person. Looking back at the most critical points in my high school career, he was there supporting me. Near the end of my 10th grade year, Mr. Gardiner, my former science teacher and close mentor in robotics, talked to me in the hall about the bad grades I'd received that year. In those few moments, I realized I wasn't only failing my grades, myself, or my family, but him too. After that day, I discovered a new fear that would change everything: failure. But to me, failure is not really fear. It's more like a safety net to save me from disappointing others for not doing my best. I picked myself up and pursued a brighter future, not because someone criticized me for terrible grades, but rather because the concern came from an individual who, by investing time creating connection with me, I knew firmly desired my success. Through this, I learned that it's these relationships that teachers like Mr. Gardiner cultivate with their students that have the most impact on our lives. I recently spoke at the Charlotte City Council meeting with regard to creating a greater electric vehicle presence on the roads, and Mr. Gardiner was there supporting me as well. Because of the countless moments of laughter, the many instances of encouragement, and his unyielding presence in my life, I stand here now. Today, I want to end with thanking Mr. Gardiner for being my teacher in classroom, my mentor in robotics, and my dearest friend everywhere else. Thank you.
I'm very honored to be selected by Selvin to represent this prestigious ceremony. I will say that any one of the fine teachers at Gaston College could have been selected. Selvin was destined for stardom right from the get-go. Dr. Wyant likes to say quite often, when he came for 8th grade orientation, one of our science teachers, Lauren Dixon, identified Selvin as a star, someone that we needed to make sure that we got into our school. And he was just born to be in our program, and sure enough, he was lucky enough to be selected. And it's not to say that there wasn't some encouragement that needed to be given Selvin's way from time to time. I do recall a time in robotics that for whatever reason, I'm very particular about my space, and I just didn't really prefer the students to be next to my chair and my little area that I sit at. So I had walked out of the room one afternoon while the students were in robotics, and sure enough, as I come back into the room, I see 3 or 4 of them over in the corner giggling and carrying on. And I knew immediately what had happened because it had been a running joke for about 1.5 years. But I knew immediately that it was Selvin that had been the one to, all right, Mr. Gardiner, I'm going to go ahead and test you and see how upset you're actually going to get. And I could do nothing but get a little disappointed in you, and I think I took you outside and had a little chat with you for a moment. But it was those kinds of moments, just for him to push and see how much he could get away with, that I had to rein in a little bit, as evidenced by our conversation we had with the grades in 10th grade. But he's just come such a long way from that moment. 11th, 12th grade, now his 13th year. He's just pushed harder and harder, and he's dedicated himself to becoming such a scholar, and he's gone above and beyond in all areas, as evidenced by one of his 13-year English 4 projects, going to the the Charlotte City Council to speak in front of 9 board members. And I could not be more proud. And I will just share this. Selvin has been rewarded with a full scholarship to Tufts University in Massachusetts, and I'm so proud of him.
From Ashbrook High School, the star student is Lathan Flake. Lathan plans to attend North Carolina State University, but he hasn't decided on a major just quite yet. His star teacher is Trip McGill, the choral director at Ashbrook High School.
I'd just like to start off, I'm going to thank everybody. Thank you to my mom, my dad, my twin sister Victoria, and everybody from Lowell to Holbrook to Ashbrook. I couldn't be here without you. Starting my freshman year, I took chorus because I got tired of band, and my mom said I had to. Little did I know that the man sitting on a stool beside the piano, wearing that shirt and tie that he didn't like wearing, but did just because Joey Clinton told him he had to, would change the course of my life forever. And I'd just like to add a little side note. So this morning we just finished singing, and everybody was asking Mr. McGill, like, why is he wearing a tie and everything? And he says, Lathan, do you know that it's you and Joey Clinton that are the only ones that have ever gotten me to wear a shirt and tie to school? So I'd like to apologize about that. Okay. People like Trip McGill do not come around very often. I've never met someone who pours their life into everything they do just like Mr. McGill. There's no way that I could possibly fit it all into 300 words, but here we go. I picked one moment. When people have the opportunity to attend a performance by one of Mr. McGill's choirs, some are touched by the beauty of the choir or the message of the piece. But the thing that they never see is the one of the most importance to me. When he conducts, Mr. McGill is taken to a whole other place and is clearly visible by his facial expressions while conducting. All his hard work, passion, and beliefs are visible in those moments. Everything Mr. McGill does can be summed up right there. Everything he does is for his kids. Nothing else matters. All he thinks about is putting us first and getting us to be the best we can be. I recall one specific moment on the stage of Carnegie Hall this February. I will never forget the look, that half smile, just as he prepares to bring us in by taking the breath. In that moment, we realize that he has brought us to the pinnacle. All of our hard work is paid off, and we can now just let the work speak for itself. That is just one of the many moments of Trip McGill that I will never forget. Thank you for everything you have done for me and all the others.
Lathan, thank you for those kind words. I'm so appreciative for this great honor and wish to thank Gaston County Schools and the Gaston Gazette for this wonderful opportunity. Over the past 4 years, 8 semesters, I've had the pleasure to teach you in choral music at Ashbrook and the opportunity to have you to be a counselor at Camp on Clarkin during the summers. It's been a joy working with you. When your mother came to me at Myers Methodist Church when you were an 8th grader when the county ensemble was singing and said, Mr. McGill, you can't retire till my 2 children come through Ashbrook. And your mother also wrote in response in 2016 when I posted on social media about our wonderful trip to New York in 2016, I hope my 2 children would get to have the same experience in 2018. I knew then that there must be something special about these flakes, the twins. Lathan, many opportunities and experiences have come and gone during these past 4 years. Traveling to Furman University for the Choral Festival, numerous choral festivals in other places, Gaston County Choral Ensemble, a European concert tour to Germany, Austria, and the Czech Republic, singing this spring in New York and Carnegie Hall, and watching you at Camp on Clarkin corral 6, 8-year-old boys that look like a bunch of ants around an ant hill, running around and getting them in order, listening to you and loving you within a week. What a great 4 years. While all these experiences have been meaningful, the best part has been seeing your dedication, commitment, and love of music and people. Your daily contributions to each rehearsal and your exceptional work have been contagious in the classroom and at camp. Working with you and the students in the class of 2018 has been one of the great joys of my teaching career. I shall never forget this honor and the wonderful times that have led us to this time and place. Thank you.
Next, from Cherryville High School, the star student is Taylor Papaseños. Taylor plans to attend UNC Chapel Hill to major in psychology. Her star teacher is Melanie Hawkins, who teaches English at Cherryville High School.
First, I'd like to say thank you to Cherryville High School for honoring me with this year's Star Student Award. During my time at Cherryville High School, I've had quite a few teachers. Among them, the teacher that has had the biggest influence on me is Miss Hawkins. I first had Miss Hawkins last year in AP English 11, and I had her again this year in AP English 12. When she first told us that we would have to write essays every day in this class, I was intimidated to say the least, but later realized how beneficial this would be. Every day consisted of Miss Hawkins preparing us for the exam, whether it be by analyzing a book together, writing an essay, or practicing released multiple choice questions. Thanks to Miss Hawkins, my classmates and I were able to pass the AP exam last year and are fully equipped with the skills that we need to pass it again this year. Without her teaching us these skills, I would not be as prepared to begin college as I am today. Something I've always admired about Miss Hawkins is how much she truly cares about her students. Anytime someone needs advice or help with any problem, whether it be English, college, or life, she's always willing and more than happy to give it. Ms. Hawkins also forges close bonds with her students and truly gets to know them on a personal level. She's not simply a teacher, but a friend. Ms. Hawkins never ceases to encourage me in my current and future academic endeavors, as well as provide direction when I need it most. I admire her both as a teacher and as a person, and am honored to have been in her class. I know she will continue to influence the students at Cherryville High School, just like she's influenced me.
What Taylor didn't tell you is I'm a very emotional person. So I don't know if I can do this without crying. The first time that Taylor walked into my class was English 11, and she sat down, and it was a very small class, and she didn't speak at all for weeks. At all. She did her work, but this is what I got. This beautiful smile and this encouraging nod, but she never spoke. I knew she was with me, and I knew she had done her work, and I knew she was engaged, but she never spoke. Now, in my other classes, I would be like, yeah, all right, but not in that class. And I thought, And then I figured out she was a teacher kid. I was like, oh, okay. You know, she's been threatened the way I threaten my children. Don't you speak, don't you do anything wrong. My reputation. No, that wasn't it. That was just Taylor. Taylor is an incredible young lady. That is just who Taylor is. If you don't look for Taylor, Taylor will kind of get hidden behind everyone else. But Taylor is one of the most brilliant students that I've ever taught. She goes above and beyond what I ask her to do. She gives that encouraging smile, that encouraging nod in the classroom. She, without me even knowing that she's doing it, encourages her fellow students around her. And you may not think that you need that in AP classes, but in my AP classes, I need a lot of that. Because unfortunately in today's society, I have a lot of AP kids taking CPC classes, therefore I have a lot of other kids that aren't truly taking AP. I don't know if you can relate to that or not. So Taylor will step back and she will help other kids without me even asking. She will take away from her own education. Taylor is not about being an individual. We live in a society that's all about me and seeing how far I can go about me and I. And I've never ever heard this young lady say, I'm going to do this, and it's all about me. Taylor always says, what can we do? What do we need to do? And that is one of the reasons that I admire her so much. She is a team player. She wants everyone to succeed. She will not leave anyone behind. Failure's not an option for anyone. And that's amazing because she gets it. She gets it sometimes above what I get. And I know that when she gets to North Carolina, woohoo, go Tar Heels, and she gets into that class with those people on the same level as her, I know that her wings are going to spread, and they may even get her to speak. But she has not allowed that to leave anybody behind, and that just makes me so proud. And I just want to say thank you for honoring me, and you know I do love you. Thank you.
From Forest View High School, the star student is Alison Rowley. Allison plans to attend UNC Chapel Hill to major in nursing. Her star teacher is Allison Henry, who teaches calculus, at Forest View High School.
Hello everyone. I would like to introduce Mrs. Allison Henry. I had the privilege of having Mrs. Henry for 2 semesters of AP Calculus during my junior year. Going into the class, I was very nervous and unsure because I had never had an affinity for math and lacked confidence in my ability. However, over the course of the semester, Mrs. Henry changed that. She was able to take an extremely complex subject and break it down in a way that students could understand it, making it relatable, and yes, sometimes even interesting. I began to recognize that I could approach increasingly complex problems and achieve success, which helped me to believe in myself in an area that in the past I had considered to be my weakness. She never grew tired of answering my questions and was dedicated to assuring that each of her students stayed on track, even meeting with us on test days at 7 a.m. for final reviews. Mrs. Henry was not only concerned with her students' academic success, she cared about our growth as people. At Christmas time, Mrs. Henry invited those who wanted to participate to donate money for underprivileged students at Forest View. We went shopping and wrapped the gifts as a class, experiencing the spirit of giving to our fellow students. At the end of the year, Mrs. Henry used the final weeks of school to develop our life skills, bringing in local experts to teach us things like how to change a tire, banking, and budgeting. Through Mrs. Henry's dedication and support, I grew as an individual and tapped into my potential both in and out of the classroom. Perhaps she said it best when speaking about her students. I believe in them all. Some just need that push to believe in themselves. Thank you, Ms. Henry.
I would like to start by saying thank you to the Gazette and to Gaston County Schools for sponsoring this STAR Teacher program. You really have to wonder about a student that chooses their calculus teacher as their favorite, most inspiring teacher, especially one if she says she's not a math student. That must mean they are really awesome, which Allison is. She's a very caring and great individual, goes above and beyond. I had the privilege of knowing Allison and her family for years before teaching her. In AP Calculus, I was always impressed with her work ethic and her desire to gain the understanding behind the concepts. She was always attentive, asked a lot of questions, great questions, helped others, and stayed after school for additional help. Some days when she stayed, we would just talk about life. Nothing to do with math, just life. And like she mentioned, after the AP exam, I take those last couple of weeks to teach the kids life lessons, how to change a tire, how to check their oil, or where to put the washer fluid, and then also to keep a budget for a month. They have to write down everything they spend and earn for a month. They are amazed at how many times they go through Chick-fil-A or to Starbucks or to Target, anywhere. They're pretty amazed. They also have to research after college where they want to live and research their job and how much they could possibly make. Allison quickly realized that she could not afford to live in Charlotte. Paying $1,400 a month in rent, she would not have any heat, electricity, power, or clothes. Luckily, she is pursuing a degree and to be a physician's assistant, not a teacher. But, however, with teaching, it is not about the income. It is definitely about the outcome of watching students like Allison learn and grow and get to know individually. My husband always teases me every year because I say, I'm going to really miss these kids. And his response is, there'll be more next year. And he is right, but there's always those few that I really get close to, and Allison is one of them. And I hope to stay in contact with her as she continues her career at Carolina, even though I'm not a Carolina fan. So thank you to Allison for this incredible honor, and I will remember and cherish this day. Thank you.
From Stuart W. Kramer High School, the star student is Quinton Hooker. Quinton plans to attend North Carolina State University to major in aerospace engineering. His star teacher is Leslie Kalmbach, an English teacher at Stuart W. Kramer High School.
Before I start, I'd like to thank Ms. Devine and the administration from Stuart Kramer for giving me this honor. I'd like to start off saying English is not my strong suit, so when I entered Ms. Kalmbach's class for the first time, I knew it was going to be very challenging. Her class was heavily based on analytical essays written about the literature we read. Reading is a strong suit of mine, but writing not so much. Kind of ironic considering I had to write this. After the class's first few assignments, I found that I wanted my results to be better. I started to talk to Ms. Kalmbach about how my essays could improve. She helped me with simple problems like spelling and grammar, but her main response every time was, "I need more." I thought to myself, more what? What is that supposed to mean? More words, more pages, what? However, I trusted Ms. Kalmbach and saw my essays improve as I began to give her more substance through my essays. By the end of the semester, I started to find myself getting the results I wanted out of my essays because of Ms. Kalmbach's help and hard work. Her teaching was more than just how to write a good essay. She taught me how to truly take criticism and learn from my mistakes, and I feel like this is a lesson I will carry with me throughout my life. She also takes an interest in the lives of her students by asking them how their games, concerts, or other school functions went. Ms. Kalmbach views her students as the future of the world. She uses all of her effort and energy to make sure she has a meaningful influence on their lives so that they will be successful in the future. It is for these reasons that Ms. Kalmbach is my star teacher.
When I think about Quinton and his accomplishments, I am reminded of the old commercial for an investment firm that ended with, "They make money the old-fashioned way. They earn it." And that is what Quinton does. He earns his accolades. He's earned his spot up here this afternoon through hard work and attention to detail in the classroom. But Quinton's efforts carry beyond classroom assignments. He truly shines because of his ability to recognize the importance of individuals and their gifts. During a team-building exercise early in the semester, I challenged the class to create a town with whatever they could find in the room. I wish I had time to show you the video that they created with the tour of the town, but what's important here is the reflection that Quinton wrote afterward. He realized that a community's personality is created by whoever makes up the population. He additionally noticed that his class was clearly divided into two groups, the creative and the not so creative. And that while the creative group came up with the ideas, the not so creative group, which he categorized himself, built those ideas into reality. I know that his community's personality will continue to reflect his kindness, his recognition of others' gifts, and his sense of responsibility to use his own gifts to build new ideas into reality.
From the Highland School of Technology, the star student is Priya Shah. Priya plans to attend Yale University to major in economics. Her star teacher is Joseph Yavalak, a math teacher at the Highland School of Technology.
I would first like to start off by saying how grateful I am for this honor and to represent Highland as a star student. Throughout my 4 years at Highland School of Technology, I have been incredibly fortunate to be surrounded by such a great faculty that is genuinely concerned with students' success. Not only is everyone's dedication truly outstanding, but their persistence and consistently pushing us to become the best versions of ourselves and to reach our full potential is something I have come to really appreciate. In that way, Mr. Yavalak is the epitome of a star teacher. I have had Mr. Yavalak for pre-calculus, AP statistics, and currently AP computer science principles over the last 3 years. His incomparable teaching style, remarkable ability to explain complicated concepts in simple terms, and overall presence to answer as many questions that I have had has enabled me to develop a solid foundation for all math that I might encounter in college and in the future. I specifically remember the time when Mr. Yavlak asked me what I wanted to major in, and as a sophomore, I was still at a loss. He strongly encouraged me to enroll in AP Computer Science Principles, and I did. His class has undoubtedly pushed me out of my comfort zone and has exposed me to an entirely new field that I was previously aware existed, but knew next to nothing about. In all, I really enjoyed his class, especially since he made it as interesting and collaborative as he could. At the same time, I found it quite enlightening as well, since it enabled me to realize that computer science might not be the best fit for me to pursue. But for that, I will always be thankful. I cannot thank you enough, Mr. Yavlak, but thank you so much for everything.
I'd like to begin by saying thank you to the Gaston Gazette, Gaston County Schools, and the Shield Museum for hosting this event, and to Ms. McLean, Mr. Allen, and all the staff at Highland for their constant support. I don't know about y'all, but I enjoy being just a single star in the vast sky of influence of the best students in Gaston County. I remember the first time I ever stepped in front of a classroom. As happens with many new teachers, within 5 minutes of class, I was asked for permission to use the restroom. Of course, I said no. I had to show them who was boss. And with that, my career as a teacher had begun. That student went on to cover the Carolina Panthers and to write for Sports Illustrated. Anyone that knew him, even as a sophomore, knew he was destined for great things. I remember being impressed by another sophomore. As a student in my pre-calculus class, I quickly realized that Priya was destined for great things, but not because of how much she talked in class. She was quiet. In her defense, there are a lot of students that aren't really eager to talk in pre-calculus. Priya was hardworking and a consistent math student at the top of her class, but it wasn't until we started talking about a summer program she was applying for that I realized how kind, driven, and remarkably brilliant she is. Priya is a quick thinker and is composed, polished, and well-spoken, and is as much of those as anybody I've ever taught. So it was no surprise to me that she placed first in the state FBLA competition in the global business event. And it was also no surprise when I found she was admitted to Yale University. As teachers, we too have been shaped by our stars. I'm so glad to have had 3 years working with Priya. She is going to continue to do amazing things, and I look forward to what her future holds. Thank you.
You know, Todd always pauses at the closing of this because he knows by now I'm an emotional wreck. I don't know about you all. I have dabbed my eyes. I have just been thrilled internally. You understand why I started this by saying the future is safe. Take a moment and just reflect on what you've heard today. We are lucky that we have dedicated people who serve our children. And we are lucky that we have children that are rising well beyond what I could ever accomplish. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for sharing these children with us and giving us the privilege to do this. And to these teachers, thank you for what you do every day and what you represent in the 2,000 teachers that we have in this community. We are a blessed community. This is a good day, people. Grab this and hold this.
We want to thank our STAR students for sharing those heartfelt stories about these truly wonderful STAR teachers that are with us this afternoon. We would like to say a special thank you to our high school principals and our counselors and the central office administrators who are here today to support this program. And once again, our appreciation goes to the Shield Museum for hosting the ceremony and to the Gaston Gazette for sponsoring this ceremony. And we would like to thank all of our special guests of the STAR teachers and STAR students who are with us this afternoon. And we want to acknowledge the parents of the STAR students. There is no question that they are the proudest people in this room. Congratulations to our star teachers and our star students. This is your time to shine. We appreciate you being with us this afternoon, and we hope you have a nice evening. Thank you.